Today, we're diving deep into a topic that doesn't get nearly enough attention: high-functioning depression, also known as dysthymia. If you're familiar with the DSM, Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, you might already know dysthymia. But here's the catch: it's not as obvious as more severe forms of depression, making it harder to identify, both in yourself and others. This hidden struggle is all around us, often in people you would least suspect. Today, we're going to discuss how to spot the signs, whether it's you or someone you care about who's dealing with this form of depression. The usual image of depression versus reality. When you hear the word depression, what comes to mind? Many people envision someone who struggles to get out of bed, has lost interest in life, and maybe even lost their job or social connections. This person might seem disconnected, unmotivated, and unable to maintain relationships or engage in activities they once enjoyed. It's a very visible struggle. But what if the person with depression looks nothing like that? Now let's contrast that with someone you know who's thriving, or so it seems. They wake up early, exercise, maintain a healthy diet, and show up to work or social events as though they have everything together. They're driven, assertive, and give the impression that life is working out perfectly for them. This is where high-functioning depression hides in plain sight, making it incredibly difficult to recognize. High-functioning depression, often referred to as dysthymia, is a unique and less obvious form of depression. Unlike major depressive disorder, which tends to incapacitate individuals and leave them visibly distressed, high-functioning depression is more subtle. It can go unnoticed, even by those suffering from it, because it doesn't necessarily manifest in extreme behavior or a visible collapse in daily life. People with high-functioning depression often lead what appears to be a successful life, making it even harder for those around them to detect their internal struggles. Despite their apparent normalcy or success, they may carry an ongoing sense of sadness, fatigue, and self-doubt, all while maintaining their responsibilities and relationships. This hidden nature of high-functioning depression is what makes it particularly dangerous, because those who suffer from it continue to work, socialize, and generally fulfill their obligations. They may feel they don't need or deserve help. Additionally, the stigma surrounding mental health, especially for individuals who appear high-functioning, can deter them from seeking the care they need. The purpose of discussing high-functioning depression is to shed light on these overlooked struggles and encourage people to recognize the signs in themselves or loved ones, offering pathways to support and healing. The usual image of depression versus reality. When people imagine someone suffering from depression, they often picture a person struggling to get out of bed, withdrawing from social life, and losing interest in hobbies or activities they once loved. This image is deeply ingrained because traditional depression often manifests in such visible and dramatic ways. These individuals might lose their job due to a lack of motivation, isolate themselves from friends and family, and seem like they're drowning in sadness, hopelessness, and disconnection from the world. The symptoms are readily apparent, making it easier for others to identify that help is needed. In contrast, individuals with high-functioning depression do not fit this stereotype. They continue to engage with the world, perhaps even excelling in their career, maintaining relationships, and staying active. On the surface, they appear to be fine, maybe even thriving. However, beneath this veneer of normalcy, they are silently battling an internal struggle. They might feel persistent sadness, fatigue, or disinterest, but still get up every day, go to work, and fulfill their responsibilities. This dissonance between their outward behavior and inner emotional state is what makes high-functioning depression so difficult to spot, both for themselves and for those around them. It's important to understand that depression does not always look like the stereotypical version we might expect. It can be quieter, less visible, but no less real or damaging. Functioning alcoholic, as an analogy. A helpful analogy for understanding high-functioning depression is that of a functioning alcoholic. Functioning alcoholics are individuals who struggle with alcohol dependency but are still able to maintain their job, relationships, and responsibilities. From the outside, it might seem like they have their life together, but internally, they are dealing with a serious problem. They may still attend work, socialize, and fulfill family duties, all while managing an addiction that is slowly eroding their mental, emotional, and physical health. Similarly, people with high-functioning depression are able to perform daily tasks and appear successful on the outside. They might meet deadlines at work, maintain friendships, and seem relatively happy. However, internally, they are battling feelings of sadness, exhaustion, and hopelessness. This makes their condition harder to recognize and address. Because they're not visibly falling apart, they or the people around them might not see the need for help. Yet, just like the functioning alcoholic, the person with high-functioning depression is struggling in ways that can worsen over time if left untreated. The comparison highlights the importance of recognizing that external success or competence doesn't always reflect internal well-being. The challenge of identifying high-functioning depression. One of the greatest challenges with high-functioning depression is how difficult it is to identify. Because these individuals are often able to carry out their daily tasks, whether in work, school, or social settings, it's easy to assume they're fine. They might even convince themselves that their feelings of sadness, fatigue, or disinterest are not worth addressing because they can still function. This is a dangerous mindset, as untreated depression, even in its high-functioning form, can worsen over time, leading to more severe mental health issues. Moreover, high-functioning depression often goes unnoticed by friends, family, or colleagues. Unlike someone with severe depression, who may openly express feelings of despair or isolate themselves, a person with high-functioning depression continues to participate in life. They might go out for social events, perform well at work, and appear outwardly successful. The hidden nature of their depression makes it hard for others to detect that anything is wrong. This makes it more likely that their struggles will go unaddressed for longer periods, increasing the risk of burnout, deeper depression, or other mental health crises. The stigma around mental health and seeking help. The stigma surrounding mental health is a significant barrier for many people, especially those dealing with high-functioning depression. For high achievers or those who are perceived as successful, the fear of being labeled as weak or unable to cope can prevent them from seeking the help they need. Society often praises people who are constantly productive and seemingly invulnerable, which makes it even harder for individuals in this position to admit that they're struggling. High-functioning individuals may also internalize this stigma, believing that if they are able to function, their depression isn't real or severe enough to warrant treatment. They might feel like frauds for struggling, especially when their external life appears to be going well. This internalized stigma can prevent them from acknowledging their depression, let alone seeking therapy or medication. Over time, this denial or suppression of their mental health needs can lead to worsening symptoms and more significant mental health challenges. Signs of high-functioning depression. One of the first signs of high-functioning depression is a persistent, underlying sadness. Unlike severe depression, where feelings of despair are overwhelming, high-functioning depression manifests as a low-grade, constant sadness that may not have a clear cause. It's not the kind of sadness that stops you from getting out of bed, but it's always there in the background, making everyday tasks feel a bit heavier. Another key sign is a loss of interest in activities that used to bring joy. You might still go through the motions of attending social events or participating in hobbies, but the excitement or fulfillment that these activities used to provide is missing. This loss of interest can extend to work, relationships, and even self-care, leaving you feeling disconnected. One of the more noticeable signs of high-functioning depression is a persistent feeling of fatigue. This doesn't necessarily mean you're unable to get out of bed or perform daily tasks, but it does make everything feel like it requires more effort than it used to. Even after a full night's rest, you might wake up feeling drained or find that your energy runs out more quickly throughout the day. Tasks that were once simple, like preparing meals or running errands, may feel more like burdens than routine parts of your life. Unlike someone experiencing severe depression, where exhaustion can be crippling, high-functioning depression keeps you moving, but it's often a struggle to keep up. You might push through the fatigue, forcing yourself to get to work, meet deadlines, and fulfill social obligations, but underneath it all, you're operating on empty. This kind of ongoing fatigue is more than just being tired. It's a deeper emotional and mental exhaustion that comes from constantly battling an undercurrent of depression. Perfectionism and self-criticism. Another hallmark of high-functioning depression is perfectionism and self-criticism. Many people who suffer from high-functioning depression tend to be high achievers, holding themselves to incredibly high standards. While this can drive them to succeed in their professional and personal lives, it also makes them extremely self-critical. They might magnify even the smallest mistakes or failures, beating themselves up for not meeting their own unrealistic expectations. This perfectionism can create a vicious cycle. The more self-critical they become, the more pressure they put on themselves to perform perfectly. When they inevitably fall short of these unattainable standards, it deepens their feelings of inadequacy and shame. Over time, this constant self-criticism can wear down their self-esteem and contribute to their depression, all while maintaining the outward appearance of success. Irritability and a short fuse. While most people associate depression with sadness and lethargy, irritability is another common but lesser-known symptom, particularly with high-functioning depression. If you find yourself becoming easily annoyed or frustrated by things that normally wouldn't bother you, it could be a sign of underlying depression. For example, small inconveniences or interruptions might set you off, and you may have a shorter fuse with loved ones, coworkers, or even strangers. Irritability can stem from the internal pressure of trying to maintain an outward appearance of normalcy while silently battling depression. The constant emotional strain can leave you with little patience for everyday challenges, leading to a heightened sensitivity to stress. This irritability may not be as visible as in someone with major depressive disorder, but it can still affect your relationships and overall well-being. If you notice that you're becoming more irritable without a clear reason, it's important to consider whether there might be underlying emotional issues at play. Maladaptive coping mechanisms. High-functioning depression often leads to the use of maladaptive coping mechanisms. These are unhealthy behaviors that people turn to in an effort to manage or escape their feelings of sadness, anxiety, or emptiness. For some, this might involve substance abuse, such as excessive drinking, smoking, or using drugs. Others might engage in reckless behaviors like risky spending, gambling, or impulsive decisions that offer a temporary distraction from their emotional pain. Additionally, people with high-functioning depression might turn to overworking or overexercising as a way to avoid dealing with their emotions. While these behaviors might seem productive on the surface, they are often driven by a desire to escape the mental and emotional toll of depression. Similarly, excessive screen time, such as binge-watching TV shows or endlessly scrolling through social media, can serve as a form of avoidance, allowing individuals to numb out instead of confronting their feelings. These coping mechanisms, though temporarily soothing, don't address the root cause of the depression. In fact, they can exacerbate the problem over time, leading to greater emotional distress, worsening depression, and an increased sense of hopelessness. Recognizing and addressing these behaviors is crucial to breaking the cycle and seeking healthier ways to cope. Self-doubt and loss of identity. Self-doubt is another significant aspect of high-functioning depression. People with this condition often question their abilities, worth, and even their sense of identity. Despite external success, they may feel like imposters, constantly worried that they're not good enough or that they're failing in some way. This sense of inadequacy can be pervasive, affecting not only their professional life, but also their personal relationships and self-image. The combination of self-doubt and perfectionism can lead to a loss of identity. High-functioning individuals might feel disconnected from their true selves, unsure of what they really want or need. They may spend so much time trying to meet the expectations of others, whether at work, with friends, or in their family, that they lose sight of who they are outside of these roles. This internal confusion can deepen feelings of depression as they struggle to reconcile their outward success with their inner turmoil. Inability to relax or unwind. Another subtle sign of high-functioning depression is the inability to relax or unwind. After a long day of work or responsibilities, most people look forward to some downtime to recharge. However, those with high-functioning depression often find it difficult to fully switch off. They may feel restless, anxious, or preoccupied with tasks that need to be completed, even during their supposed relaxation time. For example, instead of sitting down to enjoy a quiet evening, they might feel compelled to clean the house, organize their schedule, or find other ways to stay busy. This constant need to be doing something can be a way to avoid confronting the feelings of sadness or emptiness that arise during periods of inactivity. While they may not consciously recognize it, their inability to relax is a coping mechanism to keep the depression at bay. Restlessness and the inability to unwind. For those suffering from high-functioning depression, restlessness often takes over when it's time to unwind. The inability to fully relax is a sign that the mind is constantly racing, burdened by unacknowledged feelings of sadness or anxiety. For many, sitting still or enjoying downtime becomes uncomfortable. Instead, they seek distractions, cleaning, organizing, overthinking, or constantly keeping busy. This form of hyperproductivity can appear healthy from the outside, but it often masks deeper emotional distress. The restlessness serves as a way to avoid confronting unresolved feelings. When you're always moving, you don't have time to reflect on the emotional undercurrents pulling you down. This can also manifest as sleep disturbances, finding it difficult to fall asleep, waking up frequently during the night, or waking up feeling unrefreshed even after hours of sleep. Over time, this inability to unwind can take a toll on both mental and physical health. The body never gets the proper rest it needs, and the mind remains in a state of constant alertness, further deepening the fatigue and emotional burnout associated with high-functioning depression. If you find that your mind can't switch off, and you're always looking for things to do to keep busy, it might be a sign that underlying depression is at play. Why it's hard to seek help. Despite experiencing symptoms of high-functioning depression, many individuals don't seek help because they believe that they're managing just fine, or that their struggles aren't serious enough to warrant professional attention. The stigma surrounding mental health services, especially for those who appear to be functioning well, can make it even harder to reach out for support. In many cases, people with high-functioning depression feel ashamed or embarrassed to admit they need help. They might believe that therapy or counseling is for people who are visibly struggling, those who can't leave the house, hold down a job, or maintain relationships. However, high-functioning depression can be just as debilitating as other forms of depression, even if the signs are less obvious. There's also a fear of being judged or misunderstood by others. High achievers, in particular, might worry about how seeking mental health support could affect their reputation or career. They may fear that admitting to depression will make them appear weak or incompetent, leading them to push through their emotional struggles in silence. Unfortunately, this often leads to greater isolation and a worsening of their symptoms over time. The importance of seeking treatment. Acknowledging the presence of high-functioning depression is the first step toward healing. Even if your symptoms don't appear to be as severe as others, it's essential to understand that your mental health is just as important as your physical health. Ignoring the subtle signs of depression can eventually lead to more serious mental health issues, including major depressive disorder, anxiety disorders, and physical health problems related to chronic stress. Seeking therapy or counseling can provide a safe space to explore your feelings and develop healthier coping mechanisms. A mental health professional can help you understand the root causes of your depression, whether they stem from past trauma, unresolved emotional issues, or ongoing stress. Therapy can also help you build tools to manage perfectionism, self-criticism, and other destructive thought patterns that often accompany high-functioning depression. In some cases, medication might be prescribed to help regulate the brain's chemical imbalances that contribute to depression. Antidepressants, when combined with therapy, can offer relief for many people suffering from dysthymia or other forms of depression. Additionally, incorporating self-care practices into your routine can make a significant difference in managing high-functioning depression. This includes prioritizing regular exercise, sleep, healthy eating, mindfulness practices like meditation, and setting boundaries to protect your mental health. Small lifestyle changes, along with professional support, can help alleviate the symptoms of high-functioning depression and improve your overall quality of life. High-functioning depression, also known as dysthymia, is a subtle but impactful form of depression that can be difficult to recognize and diagnose. Individuals suffering from this condition often maintain the appearance of success and stability, all while battling feelings of sadness, fatigue, irritability, and self-doubt. The risk of flying under the radar is high, as these individuals may not receive the help they need until their symptoms become more severe. It's important to break the stigma surrounding mental health and recognize that even high-functioning individuals can struggle with depression. If you or someone you know exhibits signs of high-functioning depression, such as persistent sadness, fatigue, irritability, or perfectionism, it's crucial to seek help before the condition worsens. Remember that mental health is just as important as physical health, and seeking support is a sign of strength, not weakness. By addressing the symptoms of high-functioning depression, you can begin to heal, regain your sense of balance, and live a more fulfilling life. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, share it with someone who needs to see it, and subscribe to the channel for more content. As always, thank you for watching, and until next time, stay blessed and irresistible.